Welcome to the Soulish Podcast, and thank you for being here. My name is Whitney Apke, and I'm your host. On the Soulish Podcast, we're talking all about the aha moments, the uncomfortable and painful lessons of life, how to deeply connect with ourselves and others, and the breakthroughs, big or small, that we experience in our body, soul, and spirit. We'll dive deep, and I'm so excited to share my experiences and thoughts, as well as bring on guests who are thought leaders and truth seekers. It's my desire to uplift, encourage, and inspire you in each episode. Well, it's so good to join you guys for a solo episode. Finally, we can talk, just you and me and both of us together. But we have had so many amazing guests this last month of February. And so I cannot at all be upset with the fact that we had guest after guest after guest after guest. It's just kind of what happened, to be honest. I didn't really plan that necessarily, but just connected with so many people at the beginning of this year. It just kind of unfolded. And I'm so excited that now that I've built these relationships with these guests, that we can actually have them back as well to talk more, because really a lot of these episodes with guests are usually just such introductions into their work, into their practice, into their journey and what they've experienced and gone through and learned and grown from. And so I think definitely every guest we're for sure having back, because there's so much to talk about and so much to dig into. And I love the fact that every single guest has such an amazing heart and such an amazing heart for people. And that's really what drove me to either connect with them or to say, hey, please come on the podcast, because they just love people and are so authentic in who they are and want so badly to be a part of the solution and to support people on their journeys. And I think that is very similar to me. I resonate with that. I know that you guys resonate with that. I'm really excited for you guys and your journeys, and hopefully you got little nuggets of awesomeness out of every single episode with those guests in February. And I'm super excited for the guests that we have coming up, and really just everything that we're going to explore this year and dig into as far as our soul journeys and our body, soul, spirit connection, and how we relate to all parts of ourselves and how we are so connected, deeply, deeply, deeply connected with all parts of ourselves, body, soul, and spirit. So for this week's episode, I want to talk about forgiveness, because forgiveness is one of the biggest hurdles, journeys. Gosh, what else could we use to describe this? One of the hardest things to learn, and one of the hardest choices sometimes that we have to make, is to forgive. And so I really want to break down forgiveness and kind of talk about it, talk about signs of unforgiveness and how to heal, because that is been my main journey in this lifetime, is experiencing pain, experiencing betrayal, experiencing just really difficult situations, circumstances with people, and just choices and consequences of choices, even forgiving myself for the mistakes that I've made or the choices that I've made that have had very negative outcomes. And forgiveness is something that we all have to come to at some point, because we really can't move forward and we can't grow and we can't learn until we forgive. So I think that this is such an important subject, and we're just going to basically dive a little bit into it. I think that there's so much more to talk about as far as forgiveness, so many different angles and perspectives that we can share and talk about. But I really want to talk about the signs of unforgiveness, because I really think this is the beginning point of when we recognize and can then acknowledge pain, fear, doubt, unworthiness, shame, guilt, all of those things. And that's all tied mostly into unforgiveness. I would personally define forgiveness as a reconciliation. The reconciliation can be between you and somebody else, or you and a group of people, and or it can be a reconciliation within yourself. I think reconciliation is coming back to your most authentic self, and it's also making things right again. Now, that isn't necessarily like a right as in right and wrong, but that's a completeness, a wholeness, a healing that needs to happen. Reconciliation, we see it a lot as finding where things went wrong and correcting them. Like for me, I've worked in finance for many, many years, and I did a monthly reconciliation. And through that, I would find whatever errors or mistakes had occurred in the system, whether it was by me or somebody else that logged maybe something in that it wasn't correct. And I would have to get down to the penny. So we can think of reconciliation like that, where you find what is wrong, what is amiss, what is either too much or too little. And we can also think of reconciliation as a coming together, like when something has been torn, like you can think of it like a fabric. When the fibers have been torn, mending those fibers back together again. And so there are so many different versions or perspectives of reconciliation, but I really feel like as far as forgiveness and recognizing signs of unforgiveness as being the first step, I think it can be multiple things. So a couple of incentives to even go on that journey of discovering areas of unforgiveness, points of unforgiveness in your life, is because you can have a couple negative outcomes if you leave things be and you ignore the signs, or you ignore the pain, ignore the shame, ignore the fear, ignore the rejection, the self-rejection, the betrayal. If you leave things and you're like, I'll deal with that later, or I just don't want to deal with that right now, and you go on, things then are left right unmended. They're left torn, broken, shattered. And okay, you can keep going on your day, but your soul still needs a reconciliation. Your spirit, your energy body still needs attention and healing and a cleansing and a kind of a clearing out of all of the negative energy that is around whatever the situation and whatever person did whatever they did or group did whatever they did to you to cause you pain. One of the negative outcomes that can happen is obsession. So it can be like an obsession with someone or something that happened to you. And I've been here where I literally can't shut up about someone and what they did to me or what a group did to me. And that is like my main topic of conversation. People don't even have to ask me in order for it to eventually come up in conversation and out of my mouth. And also then I relate every topic of conversation to that person or that situation that happened. I don't know if you guys have been there, but that's been me. And I remember even seeing people's faces as I'm talking about it. And they're like uncomfortable and awkward. Like, what do we say? How do we console her? How do we get her to change the subject? And I've been there where I literally just cannot stop talking about it. I'm so obsessed. It's so in my mind. I'm ruminating. I'm going over and over and over again. The situation that happened, the words that were said, the way that they were said, how they made me feel, what I ended up doing after experiencing all of that. And I've been there. I have so been there. It is not a fun place to be. I believe it is part of our healing process. Sometimes we need to let it out. And because I didn't really have much of an outlet It just came out whenever I was around people. But it made me very much of a not happy guest, and I ended up not being able to be present, and I wasn't able to focus on anything or anyone else other than that. So it kind of damaged my relationships. It damaged my friendships. It made it very hard to have friends and to keep friends. And I wasn't really invited much anywhere during that period of time, because people knew that if they invited me and included me in something that was supposed to be a party and a happy time, that what would end up coming up was not going to be a happy time. That's a really hard place to be in. And I had said that I had forgiven, but I really hadn't, because obviously I didn't deal with the hurt, the betrayal, the guilt, the resentment, the bitterness that I had had. And so it was coming out. So that was a sign of unforgiveness that I ignored, that I did not choose to recognize. I just wanted to talk about it and get it out, and I didn't care. But if I had chosen to recognize the unforgiveness and the level of unforgiveness that I had, I probably would have been able to enter into a time of healing sooner. Another negative outcome is to constantly be triggered. You're constantly being triggered by the same person or someone that looks like them, smells like them, talks like them, gives you the impression of them. It can be anything. Or a same situation, a similar situation that's happening, and you are just constantly triggered. It could even be, and I've seen this most commonly with girlfriends, is that another girl gets something that my friend wants, and they can't stand to see another girl get hers, get a man, have a relationship. Well, now she's pregnant. I wish I was pregnant, right? Or other things like that, whatever it is. It could be so many other scenarios. But I've seen that where the gossip happens because someone has got a man or is pregnant or got a house or got a new car, right? It could be anything. Even guys do this as well. And you hate on them for whatever they have because you don't have it and you wish you did. So it's envious, but it triggers you in some way of seeing someone have abundance or seeing someone have love. And that's all you want. So when you see them have it, because you have not forgiven either yourself or somebody that has hurt you, or a situation where you got things taken away from you, maybe it could be anything, but constantly being triggered by someone or something is another negative outcome of unforgiveness. And it's a sign to you that maybe there's something you need to heal. Maybe there's a reconciliation that needs to happen. Another outcome that's a negative outcome is losing your connection with yourself and your intuition and your source. When you disconnect purposefully from yourself, right? You're purposefully ignoring the signs of unforgiveness and that you need healing, and you're ignoring that because you don't want to face the pain. You don't want to address the shame, the guilt, the unworthiness, the beliefs that nothing good will ever happen to you, that you're worth nothing, that you'll never succeed, that you'll never have love in your life. You'll never find your person. When you choose to ignore that, you are choosing to disconnect from a part of yourself that desperately is in need of your attention and your devotion and your connectedness. So that is choosing to be disconnected. That's choosing to literally ignore that, whatever that is, your soul. It could be your body. It could be translating into your spirit. And when you do that, when you disconnect from your intuition, which is telling you, hey, I need healing. Hey, I really want to be free and uninhibited and not blocked, right? Your soul is telling you this. Your intuition is letting you know. Yourself, your heart, your spirit is crying out for you to have a clearing of energy, a cleansing, a rebirth, a new season, a new time in your life, and to let go and to not hold on to the pain any longer, and you're choosing to hold on to it. I think a lot of times for me, when I've been in this place of choosing to disconnect and ignore myself, my intuition, the fact that I need healing and reconciliation within myself, it's because I am so justice oriented. Can y'all relate? And I have such an issue with the fact that I've been wronged, that I'm unwilling to let it go. I'm unwilling to heal because I'm so effing pissed off that it's happened again to me, or that this person could betray me or treat me like this, that I could be spoken to in such a way. Just so many different reasons, right? But because I'm so justice oriented, I've had to deal with this. I've had to address this in my life because I'm so black and white, right and wrong, justice oriented, like vengeance is mine, baby. And so because of that, I refuse to let go. And I'm like, no, I'm going to hold their feet to the fire, right? I think by holding on to something that I am commanding justice, right? That I am actually in the right standing, because and also gonna see justice happen on my behalf, see them shamed, right? See them come to themselves and face themselves and their evil or their betrayal or their wrongdoing, and really they're going on with their lives, and either they're learning and growing from it or they're not, but that's their choice, right? But I think by me holding on to it, that it's going to cause that to happen. It's going to cause them to come back into right standing with me, to ask for forgiveness or to right their wrong, and for me to feel vindicated. And so then I remain disconnected with myself, my intuition, and I've blocked source from being able to speak to me because I am choosing to hold on to something instead of allowing God, source, universe to help me cleanse and clear out the negative energy, right, from my whole energy system. I am not allowing my intuition to guide me, my gut sense. And so the whole purpose of that is to bring you healing and clarity and connectedness, deep connectedness, so that you experience deep healing and a reconciliation within yourself. And I'm not allowing that to happen because I want vengeance. So I don't know if you guys can relate, but that's a huge one for me that I have had to work through and probably still will have to work through. But I've worked through the majority of my past experiences and people that have betrayed me. I've worked through this on my own and have found freedom. And when I found freedom, I just came to realize, oh my gosh, how much wasted time. How much space wasted within me, within my heart, within my soul, within my mind and my emotions. How much energy have I lost over holding on to this, holding on to these things, these people, these experiences. And so I realized I absolutely have to work on every situation. And so this is how I did it. And this is how you heal. I want to share this with you because the whole point is for us to find freedom, right? The whole point of this journey is to have experiences, to learn and grow, to find more freedom and healing in our soul, right? Our soul's journey is to find more freedom and healing. And if we refuse to do that, then we miss out on this opportunity that we have right now in this lifetime. And I don't know about you, but that's not an exchange I want to make. I don't want to hold on to something that someone did or a situation that happened to me and exchange that for my purpose, what I feel called to do, right? What I feel is my soul's purpose in this incarnation, in this lifetime. I don't want to miss out on anything. And I see so many stories and hear so many stories from my clients, from friends, right? From loved ones, that they held on to something and they refused to let go. And so then therefore they lost out. They lost out on relationships. They lost out on friendships. They lost out on experiences. They didn't fully get to live their lives, or they're still not fully living their lives. They're just choosing to remain disconnected. And there's no criticism or judgment, please hear me. If that is you or that is someone else that you know of, don't judge them, don't criticize them. Don't criticize yourself, don't judge yourself. Because sometimes it's just a part of our journey, and that's okay. But ultimately, you want to find freedom. You want them to find freedom. You want to find freedom for yourself. You want total healing and reconciliation. You want to live your life, right? So here's a couple ways that you can heal. And I want to start off by quoting Martin Luther King Jr. because I love this quote and it's so good and so for us right now in this conversation. Forgiveness is not an occasional act. It is a constant attitude. And this is so dang true because you can't just in a moment just be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to forgive them one time. Forgiveness is a constant daily attitude. What helped me a lot during my time of healing, and you guys know who have listened to episode 10, where I talk and share about my healing journey and what I went through. I talk a lot about how I came to a place of healing and that it was a choice to forgive, to let go. One thing that I learned was when I was triggered, when something came up to the surface, and I had crazy like flashbacks with memories that would come up with my ex at the time. And I had crazy, like I'd be driving down a street that we drove down on, and I would literally flash back to that memory and what he said and how he said it and how I felt and how excited I was to finally be in a relationship and to be in a relationship with my then best friend. And then all the bitterness and resentment and pain would come back, and I would just ruminate in that and just kind of sink down deeper into my place of pain and bitterness and resentment and unforgiveness and not letting go. And what I learned from Dr. Caroline Leaf was that we can actually change the chemicals around a memory, because emotion is actually the chemicals, and the memory itself, the information of like what was said, what the trees look like, all like the actual facts of what happened. The information is stored in our brain. And so she said, you can't change what happened, but you can change how you feel about it. And when I saw that and learned that back in like 2011, 2012, I literally watched her videos like a million times and then turned it into a practice where whenever I was triggered and having a huge flashback or a memory came up, and then I would feel all those emotions with that memory, I just would choose to forgive and to let go in that moment. And in that moment, I was releasing the pain. I was releasing all the emotions around the information that my brain has stored of, we drove here, we did this, we saw this, we, ate this, whatever the memory of like the actual information was. I now could feel that the memory didn't really have much of an emotion around it over time. Because I practiced this like on a daily, because actually daily and almost minute by minute, something was coming up because I just was in so much pain. My heart was just shattered. And I had such an innocence and such an ignorance about me at that stage in my life that it was really, truly damaging. So I had to pick up the pieces, and that was one way that I started to kind of renew my mind. And by renewing my mind, it helped me to move forward and to mend my heart. And because I wasn't so clouded and really invaded by all those negative emotions all day, every day, it helped me to have clarity so that I could become more loving and understanding and compassionate over his situation and his journey and the choices that he made. It made me feel sorry for him because here he is 8 years older than me, and these are the life choices that he's making. And that's not coming again from a place of judgment, but it was just like, God, that sucks. But you start to understand this person's on a journey, same as I. And not that you are saying that whatever happened, whatever choices were made, the betrayal, right, the lies, that those things are okay. And that's where I think I misunderstood forgiveness. I thought that it was saying what they did, what they said, how they treated me is okay. But really, that's not what forgiveness is at all. Forgiveness is actually letting go of your energy being spent on that memory, them, what happened, the things that were said, the things that happened, that were done to you, maybe a situation, maybe like losing your job, something like that, right? It's actually choosing to manage your energy differently because, like my dad explained to me once when I was in high school, it's a really simple analogy of what forgiveness does for you, but he actually had me hold up one of my massive textbooks in high school to the wall, and I was in so much pain because of, just how high school people are. And I was really hurt. And he said, hold a book up to the wall. And he's like, so what is the wall doing to hold up the book? Is the wall trying really hard? Is the wall pushing on the book? No, obviously not. Obviously it's me holding the book to the wall. And he said, okay, now drop the book. I dropped the book without hitting my feet. And he said, okay, so what happened there? And I was like, well, I stopped pressing on the book to hold it up against the wall, Dad. And he said, exactly. So that's the same way that you choose to forgive, is you choose to not hold that against them anymore, because the second that you release them is the second that you stop exerting all of this energy on holding this against them. It doesn't hurt them, it hurts you. It doesn't cause them to lose energy and focus, it causes you to lose energy and focus. And I just realized in that moment, even though I didn't have a concept of energy like I do now, I realized that it's not to my benefit to hold on to unforgiveness. It's not to my benefit to not heal and to ignore this part of me that needs mending, that needs healing, that needs reconciliation. And so I hope that's helpful to you. It's really a constant attitude, because especially when you're just freshly hurt or dealing with something, even within yourself, maybe you're not forgiving yourself for something you did. It is a constant choice that you have to make, because as things come up throughout the day, you're being triggered, and that unforgiveness is coming up, whether it's for yourself, for someone else, for a situation, it's coming up, right? Unforgiveness isn't just like lost within your subconscious. It's very conscious when you're choosing to not forgive, because it's just not in our nature to not forgive, to not mend. Nature mends itself. And that's the same way that we are created. That's how our bodies are created. Our physical bodies are constantly detoxing. Our physical bodies are constantly healing and constantly mending, no matter what happens. And so the same goes energetically and on a soul level. We are designed to forgive. So when you're choosing to keep something open and keep something festering, it's a choice that you're making. It's a conscious choice. So it is a constant attitude to choose to forgive, because in this life, we're going to experience things that are against what we want. We are going to experience pain. We're going to experience betrayal. We're going to experience someone choosing someone else or something else over us. We're going to experience that because everyone has a choice and has a free will. And sometimes other people don't make decisions for you and for your benefit. They make decisions for their own benefit or for the benefit of someone else. And so we're going to have to settle with that. We're going to have to reckon with that. So it's a constant attitude. And I found that when I made it a constant practice, a daily practice to forgive, healing came. Suddenly it wasn't a topic of conversation anymore. Suddenly I was able to be present with someone in their conversation, in their journey, in their life, and not just share mine. And I was able to make decisions that weren't involving pain or weren't involving fear of something happening again, getting rejected, experiencing abandonment. So a couple of ways to forgive and to choose forgiveness is literally knowing that forgiveness is a choice, and the thoughts and emotions will eventually align with what you want your life to be like, with what you want to experience in your life. So a common one is love, right? If we just take that, you choose to forgive your past partners, relationships, friendships even. You choose to forgive even family members that have betrayed you, lied to you, used you. And you choose to forgive them because you want to experience love. And you don't want to self-reject before you're rejected because you're afraid of rejection. In choosing to forgive, you're not only choosing to let go of that person or that circumstance, but you're choosing to deeply connect with all parts of yourself, your spirit, your soul, and your body. You're purposefully going down deep into your soul, into your spirit. You're understanding yourself. You're understanding why you make the choices that you make, why you have the reactions that you have, why you're triggered by this or that. You deeply connect and you deeply relate with yourself. And that's a journey that we all should go on a daily. So choosing to forgive is actually choosing to live. It's choosing to move on. It's choosing to live your life and enjoy your life uninhibited, knowing that you're worthy of every good thing, knowing that you're worthy of that dream, that you're worthy of love, that you're worthy of not having any fears, that you're worthy of living free. That's what forgiveness is. So I hope that this was encouraging for you guys and that it gives you a better perspective on the journey of forgiveness. And I promise you, sometimes some things are easier to forgive. Sometimes it's a longer journey. But either way, I'd rather have and take the journey of forgiveness than being stuck kind of in this hamster wheel of rumination, of bitterness, of resentment, of not allowing anyone or anything in because God forbid the same thing keeps happening to you. I don't know about you, but that's not a trade-off I'd rather make. I'd rather forgive, have my energy spent elsewhere. I'd rather learn, grow, and move forward. And I really want that for you guys as well. So I hope that you got good little nuggets out of this. I hope sharing my journey of forgiveness is helpful to you. And we definitely have to talk more about this, but this is definitely the first step to forgiveness, is choosing to recognize and acknowledge those areas of unforgiveness. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. The Soulish Podcast is not only a podcast, but a community where we can relate to each other and support each other in our soul journeys. Join the community on Instagram and Facebook at the Soulish Podcast.